Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Akuban Nights.
Hello.
So, you've learned one spell, you've tested the shit out of your magic circle, you've learned about the other people that are here, and sort of have access to some of these other families. Two of which are, I wouldn't say sided with you, but like in the ballpark of possibly becoming friends of yours. One of them is some random neutral family member, and one is a potential enemy family member, but everyone seems chill enough here. You've also learned something about some secrets about your family history and sent your benefactor on a wild goose chase. Okay.
Yeah. So here's where Sami is going to hit the library to its proper full effect in researching and experimenting and trying to invent his own spell.
Excellent. So tell me about the spell you want to make.
Yeah, here's where I describe everything that I want, and Neal tells me that doesn't work and gives me all the restrictions on it. But the kind of spell I would like to create is, if you're familiar with it, it is the Eldritch Knight feature of recalling a weapon to your hand that you've bound yourself to. It is in the same ballpark of that, in that you can recall a object to your hand given it's on the same plane. But in this form of the spell, I would like to inscribe something onto the object itself instead of forming this bond, and then being able to, assuming the sigil is not disturbed, be able to recall it to myself, possibly having a range, possibly having weights and size restrictions.
Okay, so let's say you've got, for purposes of this example, a sword, and
Yes.
you stamp the rune on it, or you somehow appropriately set the sword up. Is the object of the spell that, like, you could be walking somewhere and then cast the spell and the sword will appear in your hand?
Pretty much, yeah.
And then if you were to be like, all right, I don't need this anymore, and just like chuck it on the ground in the middle of the desert and walk away, later you could recall it and it would just appear from the desert, right?
Yes.
So it doesn't like go somewhere when you don't need it. It stays physically in the world. Okay.
Physically on this plane. But say if someone had possession of it, I could say like recall it from their hands. Unless maybe it's in a lead or silver lined box, or behind something to that effect that typically blocks magic.
Right.
Similar to how you can't, similar to restrictions on, say, like clairvoyance.
Right. So this is like a more, this is like an advanced version of the duplicate object spell, sort of?
Yes.
Okay. I like this. Do you have a name for it?
I was thinking either recall or withdraw, or something to that effect. Like, I think recall is a pretty descriptive thing of what of what it does. Sami's rad recall spell.
Great.
And I was thinking like the there would be monetary restrictions on the sigil or stamping or whatever.
Right. So I think we're probably going to want to put a weight limit on it and a volume limit on it.
Weight, volume, cost.
Yeah. Let's see. The range, you want it to be like anywhere on the plane, yeah?
I want it to be on the same plane, yes.
Okay. So duplicate object has a moderate range, and it will bring something. So if we're saying if we're calling this like a specific, if we think about it in the same way that we do duplicate object, where a item from somewhere else gets brought to you, but you have to have like the other item of a type to match it. This spell gets rid of the matching component, so it's just this one thing that's been particularly stamped, which makes it an easier spell to cast than duplicate object, but we're increasing its range to be like across the whole plane. So that does seem, that seems fair. That seems fine. What sort of markings are you expecting to have to do? Like, is this something that is permanently etched onto this forever?
It would have to be permanently etched and very visible.
Okay. Permanently etched and visible. Range anywhere in the same plane of existence. I am down with both of these things. It sounds to me like a second level spell.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah? Okay. And we're going to call it Sammy's Radical Recollection? Or what was it?
That's a bit better. Sami.
Or do we want to do like summon specific object or summon object? Or you can name it whatever you want. Just throwing out ideas.
It's too generic, and this is a very specific thing.
Give me a name.
Sammy's. I like recollection.
Sammy's recollection, Sammy's rad recollection, Sammy's radical recollection, Sammy's forgetful recollection.
Mark of recall, I like.
Ooh, that's actually pretty solid. I like that. Mark of recall. Level 2, it's definitely a summoning spell. Do you need to cast... You must cast the spell on the object when creating it. Yeah,
yes,
when marking
cast
it.
And prepare.
Okay. So one casting to mark the object.
The casting wouldn't do the etching itself.
Okay.
The casting is to like bind the etching as something you can then withdraw.
Okay. And this should be a pretty simple thing to recall in the heat of things, right? Once the object is properly prepared, it's normal casting time to bring it to you. Okay, we'll give it casting time 2. Range is going to be same plane of existence.
I was thinking, like, if you mark it on a container, it wouldn't bring the container's contents. It would just bring the container. So it's whenever it's prepared, that's as it comes.
Got it.
If it's if it's modified, the spell won't work. You have to re-prepare it.
Okay.
And
what sort of components would this use?
Some sort of metal, I would think.
But like verbal somatic material.
I would think somatic and verbal somatic.
Okay, that seems fair. No like materials to recall it, but maybe to prepare an object.
Yeah, the material would be all in preparation.
Okay, so this spell has
like you hold out your hand and you give like a few words of how you the words that you inscribed onto it, and then it would appear in your grasp. So it would have to be like a carryable object.
Okay.
In some sort of fashion.
Okay. The object must be physically marked, inscribed, with a... You inscribe it with words, and then you say those words are the ones that bring that thing to you. So you could have like... I could mark my favorite 10 different crowbars, and with each with a different word, and then I could say like HOTS, and one crowbar would show up, and I could say Dota, and a different crowbar would show up, right? Got it.
But I'm thinking part of the runes themselves attaches like yourself to it, so that it's a personal link rather than
Right.
a link
Not
that anyone can bind to.
right. Okay.
It's so you would put your own identifier as your person, and then you would put runes that identify it as the what it's identified as.
Okay. The first rune inscribed.
But I'm thinking, I'm in terms of balance reasons, I'm thinking other people could also bind to this object.
So if I mark the red crowbar, then I give it to you. You could also mark the red crowbar, and we could both, like, I could summon it to me, and you could summon it back to you.
Possibly.
We've just created the email.
Except it's as it comes. If it's modified in any way, it doesn't work.
So if I write on...
It doesn't bring anything it's connected to.
Okay, so if I mark a piece of paper, and then I write on the paper, and you've also marked it, you couldn't then summon it to me?
No.
Okay, so what happens if I mark a sword, and then I use it in combat, and the sword gets, like, dented or dulled, or I sharpen the sword?
DM's discretion, you know.
Okay.
Dented or, like, broken, then sure. But, like, regular combat usage, it's still a sword.
Okay.
It's like saying when is the like. It's like if you change all the atoms on a person, it's not the same person, or is it the same person?
Right. I get you. Okay.
It's the same kind of philosophy argument of, is it the same sword? Has it been changed? So, DM discretion.
Okay. So what happens if you mark, like, all 10 of your crowbars with the exact same sounds, and then you cast it? Do all 10 crowbars arrive in your hand? Or do you have to use a unique call for each different object?
If you use the same one, the previous one is unbound.
Okay.
So it's only the most recently thing. And now I'm thinking only one person can bind to it at once.
Okay.
I think that's more fair. Like, if someone else uses the same binding that you made, your link to it is lost.
Okay, cool. Jot some more stuff down. How long do you think it takes to prepare an object for this spell?
I think all the preparation is actually the engraving, and then
how
the
long
rest
does
of it
it
is
take
just
to
a
engrave?
casting.
How long do you think it takes? I guess that would depend on the material, right? Like if you're engraving wood, that's one thing. Engraving metal would take another. Okay.
I don't know how long it takes normal people to engrave anything.
Not enrave, engrave. Yeah. And is this a permanent thing? Once you engrave something, it'll last forever.
I would say it's permanent.
Okay, I can get behind that.
Until dispelled.
Right.
And for whatever reason, you can break the you can break the bond by touching it and casting, or touching it and doing something. I don't know.
You can dispel the bonding on the object if you want.
For whatever reason you would want. Say you were mind controlled, then you can't actually bring it anymore. I know it's a very out there, it's a very niche situation.
Okay. So what I have is, by means of this spell, the caster is able to recall any one object that has been prepared in advance. The object must be physically marked or inscribed with words or runes. The first rune inscribed is a personal identifier of the caster, while the other words or runes are the sounds the caster uses to recall that object. Each object must have a unique set of sounds, and marking a new object with sounds of a previous object voids the enchantment on the previous object. If another caster marks the same object with the same spell, the first caster's enchantment is void. The preparation for an object takes as much time as it would to engrave the object by hand. Only after the words and runes have been inscribed can the caster finish the preparation by casting this spell into the object. Once an object has been prepared, it can be recalled from anywhere on the plane by casting the spell and speaking the sounds or words to that particular object. And then restrictions. Is that all good so far?
Yeah, that's all good so far. And, like, say if you did it on wood and wood rotted away, it would unbind the thing. It would no longer be recallable.
Alright, so 1 pound per level, 1 cubic foot per level. Only the marked object move can be summoned, not any attached items. A box will be recalled without its contents. Let's see. Modifications to the object void the enchantment.
I think it's a very fair, balanced spell.
Yeah, because it's easy to ruin. If you come across someone's crowbar that's sitting out in the middle of the desert, and then you like paint it, then it won't work anymore. So you can easily break it, which is great because otherwise it'd be way too powerful. So you can like store things in a hidden spot and recall them for use while adventuring, and then leave them and recall them again later. Yeah, this is great. But if someone finds your shit, they can go through and just fuck it up.
Yeah, and you can't just like store it in an extra in a like a bag of holding and then recall it because it's on a separate plane.
Right.
It has to be accessible to people, or like buried in the ground.
Right. The caster can dispel the object, dispel the enchantment by touching the object. Any other things that we should put in here?
It sounds like everything to me.
Okay. Cool.
But feel free to change it as it's used. I think everything's been written down.
Now, if someone casts Detect Magic on an object that has been marked by this, clearly it'll radiate some amount of magic because it is enchanted. But would that magic have, like, a direction? Like, would the aura point in the direction of the caster?
No,
because it's bound
not.
to you?
It's... No, I wouldn't say so.
Okay. Okay.
It's a valid point.
And the first rune or word marked on the object is the personal identifier of the caster, their public key, basically. Is there a way to identify a caster by this public key?
It's depends on what the caster is using as a public key.
Okay. But not
usually,
inherently, right?
It's not inherently them. It's like your username.
Okay.
If someone knows your username and you're using it on two different websites, then they can piece together that this is probably you.
Does each caster have a single unique key
No.
or name? No. So you could mark like 5 objects with 5 different keys.
You could, but it would be very complicated for you to recall. You would have to remember each and everything.
Okay.
It's for simplistic reasons. You would use the same thing.
And if you were to not use the same thing, would there be a mechanical change, or would it just be flavor text change?
I think it would be flavor text.
Okay. If a caster casts Identify on the spell, on the object, would it identify the wizard it's bound to? Would that be one of the properties that could be picked up?
Well, you don't have an identify spell yet.
Yeah, but it'll be there eventually.
So...
Maybe just a name of a person? I think that makes sense.
Yeah. It's difficult to give it like an identifier. But yeah, I guess a name, or however they personally identify themselves as.
Okay. Yeah. All right, and then items. Let's see. Items bound in silver or lead, or those enclosed in silver or lead-lined rooms are unreachable while they are temporarily unreachable.
A different divination spell to use it to track a spellcaster.
Okay.
Similarly, how there is a divination spell to using hair or blood, like the Shazar family use.
Right. Okay, I think that'll probably end up in a different spell somewhere, but I see where you're going with that, and I like it. Okay, I'm gonna put the spell... Oh, were there components? There were no material components in the enchanting of an object, right? Like when you are marking it, you just have to engrave it and then cast a spell, right? You don't need to put anything...
It has to be marked. So it's either like ink or engrave, or any kind of engravement that will stay.
Right, but there's no components on top of that, right? It's not like you need to engrave it and then like shower it with like feathers or like smear some of your own blood into it or something, right? Because you are using a marker instead of attaching your own chemistry to it.
Maybe a drop of the caster's blood would make sense.
In addition to the word for them?
Yeah, when creating the bond.
Okay. The preparation for the object takes only after the words runes have been inscribed can the caster finish the preparation by casting the spell into the object, which includes a drop of caster blood. Okay, perfect.
Because like you could either like write it on ink, or you could engrave it, or you could emboss it.
Right. All right. The spell should be added to the list. And it is called Mark of Recall. Fantastic. It's there.
Nice.
This is a good spell. I like it. Like it. Wonderful. Wonderful.
It is currently only mine.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so that is a second level spell. Let's do some spell research things to see how long it'll take you to put this bit together.
Nice.
We're gonna probably play fast and loose with the research rules here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, spell research is kind of a long ordeal usually.
Yeah, it's complicated. Describing a spell, blah blah blah, conducting research, blah blah blah. Here it says 2 weeks per spell level is the base amount of research time. We are clear, we've got like 2 weeks of time, but it's a second level spell, so we're a little short on time, but that's fine. You have a component, you already have a full library to work from, so we don't need to worry about that. Spending supplies. It might be nice if you were to make some sort of like financial donation to this group. You don't have to, but you are going to be using their like paper and their books and their tools and their supplies for all your casting.
Yeah.
If you want to give them some money, they would probably appreciate it, but they're not sticklers.
I could leave behind my research notes of the spell.
Okay.
But not the spell itself.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so the way that this works is you have a base 10% chance plus 1 point per point of intelligence you have, and plus 1 point per level of experience, and then minus twice the spell level. So what's your int?
What was the first part?
It starts at 10%, and then you add your intelligence,
So
which is
10 plus my intelligence of 15.
And then plus your level.
Plus my level, which is 4.
Okay, and then minus twice the spell level, which in this case is 2, so 2 times 2 is 4.
So that's 4.
So you've got a base 25% chance of succeeding, and if you don't succeed, each additional week gives you an additional 10% bonus. That's the rules as written. So you'd have 20.
Okay.
After 2 weeks, you'd have a 25% chance, and then.
Do I have to say how long I'm trying it for, or is it
No, you can keep trying over and over.
Next week you get the check.
Yeah.
Okay.
We don't really. We're gonna be short on time here, so I think we're gonna. Since you have a fully, like, not just a nice little researching library, but like the wizarding library of Akuba, we will cut the time in half to do this stuff.
All right.
So why don't you give us 25% chance for this first week, and then we'll see how it goes.
51 is not a pass.
Okay, so you spend a week learning and fail.
Well, cutting the time in half. Oh, you mean 20?
Yeah. And then give me...
25 would be like, you said cut the time in half, so that would be like 3 days.
The original time is 2 weeks per spell level, so I'm just cutting it down to 1 week total.
Okay.
And then give me a 35% chance for the next time that you spend on it.
50.
All right. And then a 45% chance for the next time. There you go. Okay.
Natural 1.
So it'll take you... You have the first week and then 2 half weeks. So it takes you 2 weeks total to learn this spell.
Right, yeah. That makes...
Learn
create and learn this
recall
new
this thing. Mark of recall. Fantastic. Good guy, Mark. Okay, and that'll basically take us through the time that your family gets back. If you didn't watch the last episode, did you? That what they did?
I did not watch the last episode.
Well, they're in trouble. They might all die. If they survive, they will arrive 2 days before you finish learning your spell. So if they arrive, hopefully they won't need you to flee the city immediately. So that way you can finish the spell. There's probably a few other things that we can do in and amongst this. So, is there anything specifically else that you had in mind that you wanted to do?
I wanted to talk to our librarian a little bit after he has gotten over his obsession with reading over his notes.
Yeah.
So I just need to remember what I wanted to ask him.
Yep.
I want to ask him, what did I want? I completely forgotten now. It's a shame. So last I spoke to him, he hurried off after I said that there might be something that led to the tomb, or more hints of where it would be located. Mm-hmm. So I want to go ask him if he's had any success in that. First of all.
No. I searched the books over and over looking for clues, but I found none. I don't think there's anything in his spell books that talks about his burial place.
Well, I'm sorry if I led you on a wild goose chase there. Yes. So you, it's possible it's at the gravesite, but it's also possible it is somewhere else, or maybe even destroyed long ago. Maybe it never existed. Do you have any evidence this lost text even existed?
No. Well, yes, we know that he was a great caster.
Mm-hmm.
So he must have more writings. The works that were left behind certainly must be not everything he's done.
You think he had stronger magic than what was available in his spell book?
I can't say stronger, but certainly more. We only ever ended up with a few of his books. Earlier, a man of his reputation ought to have had more somewhere.
So it's practically just
it's a working theory.
It's a theory. There's nothing particularly backing it other than
it's a hypothesis. Let me put it that way.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, very well. But you know how these things are. It's not like I save all my notes when I'm doing all my research. I'm sure I've lost a fair share myself, but I don't know. Maybe in his time before he died, he went and destroyed his collection, or at least the parts that were
ridiculous. Who would destroy their own collection?
I mean, there are some in the magicking world that the wizarding world that believe that their magics would be too powerful or influence the world in a way not suited to their own ideals if it fell into someone else's hand.
I suppose.
He was a good man though, so it's a wild theory myself. It's, you know, it's how it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, he did have quite the reputation behind him. Staff was possibly quite one of the more powerful artifacts of this land, wouldn't you say?
Mm-hmm. The Staff of Light? Yes.
Yes.
I would love to get my hands on it.
As we all would, but it was his wish to be laid to rest with it.
Mm-hmm. Well, he will head back to his work. Is there anything else you want from this sucker? This man,
He's a sucker, is he?
Well, you've sort of been taking him for a ride.
Yeah, I've been manipulating the people around this place for my own benefit.
Mm-hmm.
Do I want anything from him? I'm gonna. Maybe throughout the couple weeks, I want to just hang around that wall again, see if I hear anything else, or if
Give
anything
me another
happens.
perception check. Maybe two more, because you have some more time here, but you're pretty engulfed and engaged in some of your things.
13 and 20.
Nope. You hear nothing else.
All right. Could I interrupt my spell research to learn a first level spell?
Nope.
Yeah, I was talking to Neal about a really cool spell that I wanted.
Well, it's fine. Once your family gets back and your spell is done, then you can learn it. It's fine. You'll just do it later.
If my family comes back, yep.
If they come back. Yes.
Right, what is my spell list right now then? It is these. I would like to snort some cocaine in some of the rooms.
And by cocaine, you mean cast detect magic?
Yes, I do, Neal.
Okay,
yes, I
good.
do.
Good. He's not actually snorting cocaine. Not the objective of this
snorting
game.
magical dust to see into the ether and detect magic.
Mm-hmm. All right.
I want to do it basically. If there's any chance of being alone in any of the rooms, just walking around, and then just like keeping to myself while being blind, like basically trying to draw as little attention to myself as possible, but knowing that this is a pretty wild spell.
Sure. So what are you trying to detect here?
So I'm trying to see if there's any magical, possibly exits, or like, first of all, my priority is checking for magic around here. Maybe walking along these hallways to more of the public areas to see if there are magical artifacts.
Well,
also seeing.
The problem isn't finding magical sources, because there's a lot here. The torches that line these halls are all magical torches of Everburning. The issue is that there's too much magic here, and you're getting like all these auras that are crossing over each other, and when you're trying to like casually look in the hallway and see if there's anything suspicious, it's like, fuck. Like, that's a magic dresser somehow. I don't know why there's an enchantment on that dresser, but it's fucking enchanted. The mirror above it, also enchanted. The torches on either side, enchanted. Those flowers, there's a really weak enchantment on them, and I'm sure no one's changed those flowers in like a month. In the month that I've been here, those are probably like illusionary flowers or like magically hydrated flowers, or I don't know what the fuck's going on, but they haven't changed. And it's just like little small amounts of magic everywhere. Yeah. Doors are magical in some places. It's a mess. Why don't you give me an intelligence check to try and pull something out of this? Pull something useful.
pull something out my ass.
Ooh, there you go.
29.
Yeah. So what specifically are you looking for?
So,
give me like one thing.
Around these walls where I heard the noises, I wanted to see if there was any kind of magical entrance or exit that people were using, or going behind it. Also, I wanted to make sure I had cast it when that old man was around, just to gauge the strength of his staff.
Sure.
Or to see if he had any other things on it, and also to see if these other spellcasters were just like researching, or if they are
right. But this spell will make your eyes glow, so anyone around you will notice that you have a detect magic spell cast on you.
If they're paying attention, yes.
Right. Okay. So first things first,
when they have their back turned, I'm not so concerned about the old man because he seems like he's in his own world. He's not really noticing what's going on around him.
Mm-hmm. So the first things first, that wall, that stone wall, the mirror on it is of a higher, like a stronger magical aura than the rest of the things on that wall. It does sort of stand out as moderate. So if there's a way to get through the wall from this section of the wall, that mirror is probably involved in some capacity. As for the staff, let's just roll some dice and see if he shows up during the time that is cast. But he's pretty reclusive, so it'll be difficult.
Yeah,
unlikely.
Maybe he comes out and I notice him and he's the only person around at one time, and so I just snort some dust.
Unfortunately, you don't catch him alone in the remaining time.
That's fair. Yeah. I'll leave him alone.
Okay.
Or not. As
yeah.
Joke.
Okay, I think that is probably going to wrap us all up. Wow, we did finish early. I lied.
Oh.
Yeah, you spent a lot of time in spell research, which is fantastic. No, it's great. I enjoy people coming up with their own spells. It's good shit. But it does eat through time.
Does.
Which is fine. Okay. So on the 30th of June is when you will learn your spell. The party will begin on the 28th of June. This is all in 1511. Yeah. So Sammy's research time. You'd never really left the house except to go outside once to cast a spell behind a building. You haven't really popped up. No information about the war and things going on has come to your attention yet, but you've gotten some good stuff for the future. Did you have anything that you wanted to mark with your recall?
I was going to suggest the shield, but I don't have that.
One of the magic the magic shield?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
What do I have? I have the horn. I could try it on the horn.
Okay. Yeah, it'll work on the horn. That's fine. I just want to know what things are marked, and then maybe you can have a list of marked things as well.
Yeah.
Cool. Oops, that's not the right button. This is the right button over here. Okay, so that is going to wrap up our session of Akuban Nights today. When we come back next week, Bud, Sarah, and Maya are gonna fight a bunch of knights, and they don't have any weapons.
Oh, God.
Yeah. And if they survive, Akuban Nights will continue. And if they fail and die, maybe, I don't know. We'll wing it. We'll wing it. We just hope that they don't die.
This new group of wizards down in the basement will have a new campaign.
We'll have to change the show to Akuban Night. He'll just cross out the S on all the overlays, and it'll just be Sami alone studying spells for years and years. It'll be great. It'll be great. Okay, everybody, that's been it for Akuban Nights. If you stick around in a couple hours, we'll be doing critical feedback, and we'll have shenanigans on Saturday, and yeah,
Fun times.
it is. Any final thoughts or words, Sammy?
So as my family members aren't here, I have to be the one to say to everyone that you should subscribe to Neal, go on his Patreon, follow his Twitter, follow his Facebook.
Don't follow my Facebook because I don't have one.
Find his Facebook; it's there somewhere.
I think we deleted it.
The DM. There's a treat stream that Neal has set up. You can give him food
all right.
at any time of the day.
All right. Actually, only when the stream is active.
Only when the stream's on. But any time of the day when the stream's on, you can send him a big old lump of food.
A big old lump of food. That's my desire.
Also, Shield Maidens is a thing. If you're a girl, go check that out.
Yep.
That's for you, Faye. Yeah. Come back next week.
We'll see you guys next week. Bye-bye, everybody.